Welcome to VLearn Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 12 of Company Law and the topic is Company Secretary. Topics to be covered are meaning of Company Secretary, qualification of Company Secretary, appointment of Secretary, removal of Secretary, position of a Company Secretary, duties of Secretary, liabilities, rights and role of Secretary. First, meaning of Company Secretary. A secretary is an officer of a company who is appointed to perform the ministerial or administrative duty. जो सेक्रेटरी होती है एक ऑफिसर ऑफ द कंपनी इज ही कंसिडर करी जाती है जो कि अपॉइंट करी जाती है एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ड्यूटी के लिए एंड मिनिस्ट्रियल ड्यूटीज़ के लिए. यू शुड रिमेंबर दैट इट इज़ नॉट हिज ड्यूटी टू मैनेज द अफेयर्स ऑफ द कंपनी. ये सिर्फ सेक्रेटरी की ही ड्यूटी नहीं होती कि वो कंपनीज़ के अफेयर्स को मैनेज करे, औरों की भी होती है. He is primarily concerned to ensure that the affairs of the company are conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Companies Act and Article of Association of the company. The Indian Companies Act 1956 in section 245 defines a secretary as any individual possessing the prescribed qualification appointed to perform the duties which may be performed by a secretary under the Act and any other ministerial and administrative duties. The Company Secretaries Act 1980 defines a company secretary as a person who is a member of the Institute of Company Secretary of India. कि कोई ऐसा पर्सन जो मेंबर हो इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी ऑफ इंडिया का. Only an individual can be appointed as a company secretary. Thus, a firm or a body corporate cannot be appointed as a company secretary. The company secretary should possess the qualifications prescribed by the central government. The duties of the company secretary are of a ministerial or administrative nature. Qualification of Company Secretary. According to Section 245 of the Companies Act, a company secretary must possess the qualification prescribed by the central government from time to time. According to Section 245 of Companies Act, जो कंपनी सेक्रेटरी होती है उसकी क्वालिफिकेशन प्रिस्क्राइब करी गई है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा और ये चेंज होती रहती है या इसमें कुछ चेंजेस जब भी आने होते हैं वो टाइम टू टाइम आते रहते हैं. Under Section 383A of the Act, every company having such paid up share capital as may be prescribed must have a whole-time secretary. Companies having paid up share capital of rupees 25 lakh or more. Then, every company having a paid up share capital of rupees 25 lakh or more should have a whole-time secretary. जो कंपनीज जिनकी पेड अप कैपिटल 25 लाख या उससे ज़्यादा होती है उनको होल टाइम सेक्रेटरी अपॉइंट करनी पड़ती है. नो पर्सन कैन बी अपॉइंटेड एज होल टाइम सेक्रेटरी अनलेस ही इज़ अ मेंबर ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी ऑफ इंडिया. कोई भी ऐसा पर्सन हम अपॉइंट नहीं कर सकते एज अ होल टाइम सेक्रेटरी जब तक कि वो मेंबर ना हो इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी ऑफ इंडिया का. कंपनीज हैविंग अ पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल ऑफ लेस देन 25 रुपीज़. देन अगर कंपनीज़ की पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल 25 से कम होती है तो अ मेंबर ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी ऑफ इंडिया. एनी पर्सन हु हैज़ पास द इंटरमीडिएट examination conducted by the Institute of Company Secretary of India. Postgraduate degree in commerce or corporate secretaryship granted by any university in India. Appointment of secretary. The first secretary may be appointed by the promoters. जो first secretary होती है कंपनी की वो promoters उन्हें appoint करते हैं and such a person helps the promoter in carrying out all the preliminary work in connection with the formation of the company. The appointment of company secretary is made by the board of directors. जो कंपनी सेक्रेटरी की अपॉइंटमेंट होती है वो बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स के द्वारा होती है इन देयर फर्स्ट मीटिंग फर्स्ट मीटिंग में बाय पासिंग अ रिजोल्यूशन पास करते ही. A service agreement is executed between the company and the secretary in which the terms and conditions of his appointment, remuneration, etc. are stated. A director, being an individual, can be appointed as secretary. जो डायरेक्टर अगर हम उसको देखें कि इंडिविजुअल है और एक काम कर रहा है कंपनी में, तो हम उसे सेक्रेटरी भी अपॉइंट कर सकते हैं, बट इट कैन बी अपॉइंटेड एज अ सेक्रेटरी. But it requires the approval of the company by special resolution, where the board of directors of the company consists of only 2 directors. जहाँ पे 2 directors होंगे, then neither of them can be appointed as secretary of the company. और दोनों में से किसी को भी हमने कंपनी का सेक्रेटरी नहीं बनाया होगा. Section 303 of Companies Act requires that the particulars of a person as secretary must be recorded in register of directors, managers and secretary. Removal of secretary. When a secretary is appointed, the term and condition of his service are stated in the service agreement. जब किसी हम सेक्रेटरी को अपॉइंट करते हैं तो उसकी जो टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन होती है उसकी सर्विस की, वो सर्विस एग्रीमेंट में लिखनी पड़ती हैं. देयर इज़ अ क्लॉज इन द सर्विस एग्रीमेंट विच प्रोवाइड्स द मैनर इन विच ही कैन बी डिसमिस्ड. आपके एग्रीमेंट में कुछ ऐसा क्लॉज भी होता है जो डिसमिस करने के लिए बताया जाता है कि आप किस बेसिस पे डिसमिस किए जा सकते हो. द सेक्रेटरी बीइंग एन एम्प्लॉय ऑफ द कंपनी इज़ अ सर्वेंट ऑफ द कंपनी and his removal is governed by common law governing the relationship of master and servant. The secretary must be given due notice of termination of his employment. जो secretary होती है उसे एक due notice दे दिया जाता है termination का, with the terms and condition of his employment. In case no period of notice is mentioned in the service agreement, अगर service agreement बना है और उसमें कोई पीरियड डिफाइन नहीं किया गया, देन अ रीजनेबल नोटिस शुड बी गिवन. एक रीजनेबल नोटिस प्रोवाइड किया जाता है, अदरवाइज द कंपनी शेल बी लायबल टू पे कंपनसेशन टू हिम. पोजीशन ऑफ अ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी. फर्स्ट, एज अ सर्वेंट ऑफ द कंपनी. As a servant of the company, his position is that he is to do what he is told. There is a service agreement between the secretary and the company, and his employment is governed by the terms and conditions of this agreement. Therefore, he is an employee of the company. He is to work under the control of the board of directors. He has to carry out the orders of the directors. It is for the secretary to ensure effective execution and implementation of the management policies laid out by the board. He cannot exercise independent desertion in the work assigned to him. Second, as an agent of the company, the secretary is concerned with the administration of the company. He acts on behalf of the company. The duties of the secretary are the ministerial and administrative in nature. So, the routine matters relating to the company are left to be looked after by the secretary. He has to deal with the staff, workers, trade union, shareholders and the outsiders. So he has to use his discretion in dealings with such matters. He is an important link between the company and the outsiders, and all policy decisions are conveyed by the secretary to the staff and outsiders. As an officer of the company, strictly speaking, the secretary is not a managerial personnel, but he is treated as a principal officer of the company for the purpose of various sections of the Act. He is responsible for the compliance of various legal formalities under different acts. The Companies Act 1988 has particularly specified that a secretary is bracketed with the managerial personnel, including directors, and is liable to punishment by way of imprisonment, fine, or otherwise for violation of the provisions of the Companies Act. As an advisor to the board, The secretary plays an important role and enjoy a unique position in the management of the company. Though the policies of the company are formulated by the directors, but since the secretary has complete information about all internal matters and changes in the policies of the government, he is in a better position to supply the required information and advice to the directors. He advises the board on various legal matters, and he can be described as a real guiding spirit behind the board of directors. Duties of secretary. Secretary duties are broadly classified in two categories. First, statutory duties. That contains signing of any document or proceedings requiring authentications by the company under Section 54, filling of necessary documents and return with the registrar of companies. Example, return of allotment of shares, annual returns, annual accounts, etc. Giving the notice of the increase in share capital to the registrar under Section 97, delivering the share certificate within 3 months of allotment or within 2 months of registration of transfer under Section 113, making entries in the register of members on the issue of share warrant under Section 115, getting the name painted outside every office or the place of its business and to get is engraved on the seal of the company. Section 147. General duties of secretary. First, to carry out the order of the board of directors. Second, to assist the board in the formation of policy decisions. Third, not to disclose confidential information relating to the affairs of the company. Fourth, not to make any secret profits on account of his position. Fifth, to act as medium and link between company and outsiders. To provide information to shareholders. To organize, supervise, and coordinate the office work. Liabilities of a secretary. First, statutory liabilities. It contains default in holding the statutory meeting and filling the statutory report with the registrar. This is according to Section 165. Now, according to Section 168, default in holding the annual general meeting. Default in filling a return of allotment according to Section 75. According to Section 150, default in maintaining the register of member. Now there are contractual liabilities, which contains that he shall be liable for any loss or any damages, कि सेक्रेटरी ही लाइबल होगी किसी लॉस या किसी डैमेज के लिए कॉज टू द कंपनी जो कंपनी को हुआ है विद विलफुल और नेग्लिजेंस इन डिस्चार्ज ऑफ हिज ड्यूटीज. He shall be personally liable if he acts beyond his authority. He shall be liable to account for the secret profits made by him by virtue of his position as a secretary. Now come to the rights of the secretary. First, right to control and supervise the working of his department. सेक्रेटरी को राइट होता है कि वो कंट्रोल करे, सुपरवाइज करे वर्किंग ऑफ हिज डिपार्टमेंट कि उसके डिपार्टमेंट में क्या काम चल रहा है. राइट टू साइन डॉक्यूमेंट्स रिक्वायरिंग ऑथेंटिकेशन बाय द कंपनी. राइट टू बी इंडेमनीफाइड फॉर एनी लॉस सफर्ड बाय हिम while discharging his duties. Last one is right to receive remuneration. Role of secretary. There are 3 roles. First one is statutory officer, coordinator, and last one is administrative officer. First, statutory officer. As a principal officer of the company's secretary is responsible for strict compliance with the various provisions of the Companies Act and the requirement of other acts. He is responsible for proper maintenance of books of accounts and other registers. He has to sign several documents such as annual returns, return of allotment, declaration or commencement of business. He is responsible for authentication of the balance sheet and profit and loss account, for holding meetings of directors and shareholders and maintaining minutes of such meetings. Second, coordinator. A company secretary is the link between the board of directors and other executives of the companies. The board lays down the policy decisions, but it is the secretary who ensures their proper implementation. He acts as a link between the board, managing director, and the chairman on the one hand and with the staff on the other hand. In the company where there are several independent departments such as sale, purchase, personnel, etc., he acts as a coordinator with these functionaries for ensuring that the policy decisions are duly carried out, and if there are some matters which requires further consideration, the secretary shall place them before the board and convey the decisions of the board to concerned department. Last, administrative officer. As a general administrative officer, he is responsible for effective administration of the company. He has to supervise, control, coordinate the functioning of different departments such as finance, personnel, organization. He should develop a strong and efficient organizational structure. He has also to ensure the safety and proper maintenance of the assets and properties of the companies. Now there are some questions on the basis of this session. फर्स्ट वन इज़ हाउ कैन द सेक्रेटरी ऑफ द कंपनी बी रिमूव. जो कंपनी की सेक्रेटरी है वो अपनी पोजीशन से उसे हम कैसे रिमूव कर सकते हैं या कैसे हो सकता है. एनुमरेट 4 इंपॉर्टेंट ड्यूटीज़ ऑफ द सेक्रेटरी. सेक्रेटरी की 4 इंपॉर्टेंट ड्यूटीज़ बताइए. थैंक यू. हैप्पी लर्निंग. वी लर्निंग.